The alarm blared. John shuddered awake, groping for the alarm. He heard a glass tumble from the table with a thud on the carpet. He groaned and stretched his arm a bit further, smacking the top of the alarm. He sighed, peeped his eyes open. The digital clock read 6:07. His eyes widened. Shit! John threw off the covers and dropped his feet to the ground, stumbling over the glass on the floor and into the living room. He scoured the couch for the remote, digging into the creases. Shit. He dropped on all fours and swiped his hand under the couch. The remote popped out. John jumped on it, pointed it towards the screen, and smashed the power button. Well, for all those that did not get a chance to call in this time, tune back in next week. John scowled and flipped the channel. 25% chance of rain today. John clicked the TV off and grabbed some pants from the ground and pulled them on. He slipped a pair of shoes on and reached for an umbrella. Hesitated, and instead just rushed out of the house. John darted down the block to a small bus stop and then pulled out his phone. The old man looked at John, and John returned the glance with a smile. Bus just left, the old man stated matter-of-factly. John smiled and turned his phone to the old man. Uber. A car pulled up and John stepped into it. The old man continued to grind his teeth. John, the driver said. Yeah. John put his phone away. The driver shook his head and smirked. The bridge just raised, buddy. We're going to have to go all the way around. What? John looked perplexed at the driver and took out his phone. I'm just saying, next time you want to go south side, you might want to try 10 minutes earlier. Oh, sorry, man. Wrong address. John looked down at his phone for a second. There we go. He looked back up with a smile. The driver raised his eyebrows. Ah, okay. That'll be fine. The car pulled up to a towering building with a guard outside. John stepped out and hurried towards the building. The guard moved up to block him. Sorry, sir. General admission just closed. Oh, I just wanted to ask where the flood building was. The guard smiled and pointed across the street at a grungy office. John crossed and ducked into one of the side doors. The room was hot and loud music was playing. There was an instructor in front of the class pushing up a massive dumbbell. She saw John come in and looked at an empty spot in the class where another dumbbell rested. John looked embarrassed and shook his head. Dodging through the students, he made his way further through the building. John opened the door into a long hallway and glanced at his phone before striding down the hall. There were 2 doors at the end of it, and John opened the one to the left. The room was quiet. There were several men and women with suits around the table. One was looking at her watch. The head of the table was empty, with the glowing blue screen ominously overlooking the meeting. Everyone in the room looked up at John. Sorry. John closed the door, flustered, and looked at the other doors across the hall. He took a breath and opened the door. And this time, he was finally late.